I perceive that you're worried about the resurrection. Let's teach you about that. You're not all of a sudden going to die, and there's going to be some things in between. There's going to be a space between this and before you're judged, and let's straighten that out.
Okay. And we're talking about the nature of death, remembering that when a person dies, they don't cease to be. They just cease to be in this world. And that in the eternal scheme of things, there is no death and there are no dead. There are only living people. And when a person dies, I just attended a funeral a matter of days ago. It was a joyous occasion because this person had lived such a marvelous life, and we rejoiced in that life, and we also rejoiced in what they were experiencing now. Well, with that in mind, would you read for us 11 and 12?
Now, concerning the state of the soul between death and the resurrection, behold, it has been made known unto me by an angel, that the spirits of all men, as soon as they are departed from this mortal body, yea, the spirits of all men, whether they be good or evil, are taken home to that God who gave them life.
Let's pause there for a second, Brian. I know there's a lot of discussion in today's world, particularly in regard to the near-death experience, that people die and they see this being of light, and I don't want to say yay or nay about the near-death experience. Clearly something's happening when a person faces death. What do we make of the idea, though, that as soon as a person dies, they are taken home to that God who gave them life? Todd, what do you make of that?
Well, I think there can be a little bit of a misimpression there, because from other scriptures we know you don't go into God's immediate presence. You go to the spirit world. You are a spirit. He's a resurrected being dwelling elsewhere. And so it's the way it's used. Brigham Young said, let me render it a little clearer. He said, he was speaking in the Bowery. He said, I'm in one end, and you can hear my voice in the other, and in that sense I'm there. And he said, everybody's in God's presence, and you come from a spirit world. Then when you die, then you're back in the spirit world, so you're going back to that world of spirits, and you're more aware that you're in the presence of God. Joseph Fielding Smith used the idea of, if a young man goes on a mission and he's been in Italy and he comes back, and as soon as he gets to the United States he says, oh, I'm home again, even though his home's in Idaho, he's just back in the United States, so he's not back in the immediate presence of his family in Idaho.
Excellent, excellent. And the use of the word presence is important. I mean, I don't think most of us would suppose, when the person giving the closing prayer, thanking God for his presence being there, that we would necessarily have to have had God in person. No, rather, the Holy Spirit has been there, which is what we're talking about when we described the presence of God. So, taken home to that God who gave them life. Now, verse 12.
And then shall it come to pass, that the spirits of those who are righteous are received into a state of happiness, which is called paradise, a state of rest, a state of peace, where they shall rest from all their troubles and from all care and sorrow.
Paradise. All troubles, all care. What are we talking about? What kind of a world is this? If a righteous man or woman dies, then they are received into paradise. What do you anticipate that'll be like? Not for you, Todd, but for others.
Yeah, I'm over verse 14, I guess. But notice the term state is used 3 times. It's a condition as well as a place.
Okay, good.
And I think it's, and the spirit world is much like this world. I can live in this world, live the gospel, live the commandments, and I can live in a state of peace in my house, and my neighbor, if he's violating commandments and he's on drugs and he's doing other things, he can be in a state of hell. Excellent. And we're in different states, but we're in the same place.
I mean, we could say it this way. I know that there are murderers in this world. I don't happen to hang out with them, but we're in the same world.
Yeah. Drive the same streets, shop same stores sometimes, but they tend to congregate as well as the righteous tend to congregate, and I think that same thing happens in the spirit world.
So we're constructing a view in the Book of Mormon, a very simple view of the nature of the post-mortal spirit world, one dimension being paradise. Anything you want to add, Brian?
The spirit world is a big place, and you're going to have you're going to have those, as Todd was saying, that are going to be the righteous, that are going to be in one place, perhaps in that world of spirits, and then in maybe another place. You're going to find, or state, you're going to find others who are perhaps not so obedient, and Alma brings that out, that it's not just a place of paradise for...
As you were saying that, I was reminded of what the prophet Joseph said. This is from the teachings of the prophet Joseph Smith, page 326. He said this, Judge Adams' funeral, James Adams, "The spirits of the just are exalted to a greater and more glorious work. Hence they are blessed in their departure to the world of spirits." And this is the part that's interesting to me. "Enveloped in flaming fire, they are not far from us, and know and understand our thoughts, feelings, and motions, and are often pained therewith." I don't know how that gets to you, but that gets my attention. That is, the spirit world, as President Brigham Young taught, is all about us. They don't go off to some other planet. They don't go off to some other world. They are associated with the world in which they had lived in the flesh.
Right, that's what I was just going to say. Brigham Young said, where is the spirit world? It's right here. Do the evil and good go together? Yes, they do. Do they go to one kingdom? Yes, they do. Do they go to the sun? No. Do they go beyond the boundaries of organized earth? No, they don't. That's from the Discourses, page 376. So it's right here. So lots of times people talk about them being up there, in obituaries, but it's really right here.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay, let's look at the other dimension, another side. Let me read that for us. "Then shall it come to pass," verse 13, "that the spirits of the wicked, yea, who are evil, for behold, they have no part nor portion of the Spirit of the Lord, for behold, they chose evil works rather than good. Therefore the Spirit of the the Spirit of the devil did enter into them, and take possession of their house. These shall be cast out into outer darkness. There shall be weeping and wailing and gnashing of teeth, and this because of their own iniquity, being led captive by the will of the devil. Now this is the state of the souls of the wicked, yea, in darkness, and a state of awful, fearful, looking for the fiery indignation of the wrath of God upon them. Thus they remain in this state, as well as the righteous in paradise, until the time of their resurrection." It was President Joseph F. Smith, as we have it now in gospel doctrine, who spoke of what he called a partial judgment that takes place at the time of death. So we die, and there is a partial judgment. Obviously, the final judgment is following the second resurrection, but at the time of death, there is a partial judgment, and individuals would pass either into paradise or into this other realm, which Alma calls outer darkness, or Jacob in 2 Nephi 9 would call hell. Let's just make a comment about outer darkness. Generally, how do we use that phrase, Todd?
Well, it's not usually referred to this place, but where those who become perdition go. And because of these extremes we talked about, you might be confused with that he's talking about that outer darkness, but we're talking about the state of the wicked in the spirit prison, which also could be confusing in verse 14, because he talks about paradise, and from Jesus' statement to the thief on the cross, you get the impression that he says, remember me, and he says, well, tomorrow you'll be with me in paradise. That's often interpreted, we're both going to heaven tomorrow. And Joseph Smith said, no, paradise is not was in the original translation, but he said, tomorrow will be in the world of spirits. And we know from section 138, they both went there. Jesus organized the missionary work, and then that person would have been taught there, but they didn't go to what most people would see as heaven.
So what we would normally think of as final outer darkness, reserved only for the sons of perdition, here Alma is he's talking about this state of temporary outer darkness to describe hell, or the dimension, that other dimension of the spirit world. Now clearly what's not mentioned here, but the Doctrine and Covenants helps us a little more with, what about decent, good, upright people? I think we're to understand, both from section 138 of the Doctrine and Covenants and from the teachings of the prophet Joseph Smith, that these people would also be in this realm, not agonizing, not suffering, but growing, developing, learning, transforming.
Just like here.
Just like here. I remember, even in paradise, clearly, something must go on where the purifying process continues. I remember so well that at the funeral of Elder Bruce R. McConkie, Elder Packer, saying, where is he now? And he went on and described where he was, and he said, "And when he is finished, and when the refining process is complete, he will be glorious."